I'm honestly worried that she'll try to copyright this because of what she said about copyright in her video. It's clear that she doesn't understand how it works, but she also told us,
I'm just an artist. I don't understand the ins and outs of everything that I'm talking about, so again, I might be incorrect. Just let me know.
So that's what I'm going to do. This right here is the definition you should have given at the beginning of your video. They'll never be able to improve if you treat every mistake as a reason to get rid of it. See, now that's the big picture. And whenever you want to talk about a big picture, then that's when people say, oh, that'll never happen. Yeah, it won't ever happen because of people like you. Like, stop. But of course, she's never going to put it in that context. Anything that supports that, she'll just say it and move on. If you were to actually win this argument, you're going to make it harder for artists to use sources. And that's what's actually dangerous. And that's why I'm making this video. That's her whole summary. I mean, she just said it there. Like, if at any point in this video you didn't believe that that's the narrative that she's painting, she just... I really hate that fucking argument so much. They literally say the word snippet because in their like brain, they're picturing what they think AI is doing is like grabbing 10 photos from people and literally cutting pieces out from each photo and making a collage. You're trying to say it's leeching off of other people's work, but the description you just gave shows that it's more complicated than that. But you said it so quickly, no one's even going to have time to react to that. You already told them your version of what it is, so they probably didn't even retain this part. For you to use this thing that someone's not prepared for as an argument for something completely separate is disingenuous, and that is immoral, as you wanted to say. They're just like, let me just do all this research on the stuff that I get, and I don't know that much about the other stuff, but I didn't care about it because I don't believe in it, because I just feel like I'm right, so I'm just going to go on and be right. And that's why I don't like going off of feeling when I decide whether something's right or wrong. Do you want them to try to get better at this or not? But the truth is they don't. They don't want them to use it at all. Unless they use it in a specific way that these artists are happy with. And then, by the time it's what they finally want it to be, it won't be AI art anymore. I don't even understand that. But she made it sound all spooky, scary. She's like, you could potentially be sued. But this is what people do. They just like to pile on every single little thing that they can. And that's not you being objective.
There's no legal ramifications for misuse of the systems and the models.
They literally made a rule. Like, that's the legality that they're working on right now. What do you mean there is no... Oh my God, you just get to say whatever you want. You just get to lie. Because that's what you're doing right now. You're lying. You just showed it to us.
It's not like the program has it programmed in it to create fake signatures so it looks more authentic. These are like the little ghost remnants of signatures from artists that it's taken from.
I swear, everything she says is through the lens of it being a thief. It wouldn't be making fake signatures to seem more authentic because it's not a human and it's not stealing from anyone. It would just be signing a signature for its own piece of art that it created itself. Hey everyone, so it's been a long time since I've done one of these kind of videos, but I guess this is the time I finally decided to do it. I wanted to make a video on AI, and I am in the process of making one, but I decided to do two versions so that you could see firsthand how people are talking about it, seeing an actual person talking about it, and the other one will be you seeing a lot of people talking about it, but in a different way. So for anyone who doesn't know, AI is now capable of making art. So they're creating entire portraits based off of what they've learned from other artists. And a lot of artists don't like it. A lot of artists are talking about how it's a threat and it's dangerous and how there needs to be checks and balances, that they're not giving consent for their art to be taken from these programs and used for profit and all these things. So that's where the big controversy is from. I don't really think I need to explain any further than that because this video is going to do a pretty good job of explaining it as we go through, but that's just to give you an idea of what you're walking into. So with all that being said, I suck at transitions, so I'm just going to start playing this video.
Hello my friends. Something that has taken the internet by storm, at least in my corner of the internet, which is AI art. I'm personally pretty emotionally affected by this, pretty upset, so I'm hoping that this video essay commentary is going to be as objective as possible. And
I just want to say they're all upset. Like, it's not just personally her, it's the majority of the art community. It's already starting off not objective. Just the fact that it's upsetting you means you're not being objective about it. Not because she was upset while talking about something, but because this specifically is something that she shouldn't be upset over. That's all I'll say.
I'm going to be trying to tell you about my opinion and the facts that I believe support my opinion against AI art, but at the end of the day, I'm emotionally and subjectively biased, so if I'm saying anything that is incorrect, please just let me know in the comments.
Yeah, I'm happy that she at least acknowledges it. But like the whole just being upset in general, it means you're completely on the opposite side of it.
I'd love to make sure that I am informed and not believing something that is not true. I also want to say that I am not a lawyer, obviously. I'm just an artist. I don't understand the ins and outs of everything that I'm talking about, so again, I might be incorrect. Just let me know. This is just what I've researched and what I have come up with and my opinions. Okay, cool.
So I'm happy that she said all that, but at the same time, it's like that's what people say all the time before they make a video. They're like, I don't know everything, just so you know, I don't know everything. But it's just, so it's like, I didn't hear what you have to say before any of those preemptive apologies and stuff really matter. Because if you say that and then you just go on about a bunch of stuff that's not true, then it kind of doesn't mean anything. Because who are you going to listen to in your comment section? If people tell you that you're wrong, but a lot of commenters, the majority of the art community comment and they agree with you, then how are you going to know that you're wrong? So it doesn't really matter because someone's always going to let you know that you're wrong on an opinion. It doesn't mean that you need to listen to them. So who cares?
Before we begin, I do want to mention that I am taking a survey to see where you guys would like to go on another art retreat in 2023. I just hosted an art retreat this past year in September. I thought it was a very successful art retreat. So if you'd like to go with me in 2023, fill out the survey, please. It's just to let me know where you'd like to go, what your budget is, and what time of year that would be. There are so many good places to go, such as Japan, Ireland, Iceland, France, Italy. Let's get into the video. The topic today is going to be why AI art is not just fun or useful, why I believe that it is pretty dangerous to artists right now, and just in general, ethically immoral. The very first argument and largest argument against AI art, especially in the mindset of artists, is that AI art at the moment is just art theft. Lensa is extremely popular right now and has grown in popularity, especially the past couple of weeks, and is one of the largest AI art apps out there. Lensa uses an AI model called Stable Diffusion. Stable Diffusion scours the internet for millions and millions of photos.
So she's saying that they scour the internet for millions and millions of photos. Just keep that in mind. Because I haven't seen this video, even though you saw it like stopped in the middle. I just wanted to stop it on a point where she didn't look like goofy, So I was like, oh, she looks okay here. I just already know where it's going because this is the art community at its best, honestly. Any response on this side of the argument? Okay.
Create new images. This is not original or new artwork. I think that scours the internet for millions and millions of photos. Create new images. This is not original or new artwork. I think that's like the easiest and simplest way to describe what Stable Diffusion is. Stability AI is essentially a parasite without artists creating artwork.
What kind of description is that? It's basically a parasite. That doesn't tell anyone anything like at all. That is a full-on narrative. Even if you were right about how you felt, that's not how you explain things to people. If you want to be objective, right? You give people the information of what the thing does, and then you tell them your opinion, and just saying it scours the internet for millions and millions of images is not enough information for people to understand what it's actually doing. But the reason why I think she's not going to say more, which I will explain to you as time goes on in this video, I think is because she doesn't know how it works. She said earlier,
I am not a lawyer, obviously. I'm just an artist. I don't understand the ins and outs of everything that I'm talking about. So again, I might be incorrect. Just let me know.
And the point is, how are you going to be objective about something that you are admitting you don't understand? Maybe don't make this video right now, go understand it, and then come back and make the video. It makes sense to me.
Stability AI is essentially a parasite without artists creating artwork and posting it online. It would have no data sets to train from and to create its own art. The biggest problem with this is the fact that Stability AI does not ask for consent. It uses copywritten images along with private medical records.
Okay, I'm gonna read that. Just give me a minute. So just about her saying without artist images, they wouldn't be able to create their own art. I just want to say that is absolutely false. It would probably take more for them to learn how to create art. But again, you have no idea how this works. It's a learning program. It just makes it faster and easier for AI to learn how to draw. But you could honestly give AI the basic principles of art and just have it learn how to draw over time. For example, they have made AI that's able to like go upstairs and stuff, right? It falls like 100 million times and then it starts to learn how to walk up the stairs. You didn't give it any walking upstairs lessons. You just checked it when it was going up the stairs somewhat correctly. You're like, all right, that's the right way to do it. Let's try to get it to do that more. That's the right way to do it. Okay, try to do that some more. And it eventually learns. But would it learn faster if you just taught it how to do it in the first place? For sure. So it's just not true that if it didn't have these artists showing it how to draw, it wouldn't know how to. So, all right, let me read this. I hate reading with a burning passion, so forgive me if I screw it up. Late last week, a California-based AI artist who goes by the name Lapin discovered private medical record photos taken by her doctor in 2013, referenced in the Lion, I cannot say that right for the life of me. I'm just gonna say Lion 5B image set, which is a scrape of publicly available images on the web. AI researchers download a subset of that data to train AI image synthesis models such as Stable Diffusion and Google Imagen. I'm assuming it's Google Imagine or Imagen, Google Imagen, Google something. She needs to Google something. All right. First thing wrong with this is that this has nothing to do with the argument of AI being a problem. And again, we'll get to it later. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself for you guys. But the point is, them taking private medical records. First of all, you're not explaining how or why. I'm not sure about this intricacy of these programs because I'm not a programmer. There's only a few options that you can go with here. If somehow this program can just take information from all over the internet, like unchecked, then it's really hard to manage that. Now, if they're actually taking these things hand selected and putting it into the program, not just putting on autopilot to scrub the internet for information, then that's wrong, obviously. But that's a fault on how they're getting the information. And that specifically is wrong. That's not the same as saying AI drawing pictures from artists' art is wrong. But this is what people do. They just like to pile on every single little thing that they can. And that's not you being objective. It's kind of insulting that the person who she's referring to, whose medical records were used, is an AI artist. So now you're going to take their story and use that to attack the medium that they express art in. You're already off track and we're 2 minutes and 39 seconds in. All right, so then it says Lapin discovered her medical photos on a site called Have I Been Trained, which lets artists see if their work is in Lion 5B dataset. Instead of doing a text search on the site, Lapin uploaded a recent photo of herself using the site's reverse image search feature. She was surprised to discover a set of 2 beforehand-after medical photos of her face, which had only been authorized for private use by her doctor as reflected in an authorization form Lapin tweeted and also provided to ours. I don't know if I'm saying that right either. It's too many names. Point is, I already said how I felt about this. It's not a good argument for your main point. Saying that it's harmful for artists is not the same argument as saying it's using people's private medical records, because you don't have to be an artist for someone to steal your medical record.
Records, violent images, and
Oh crap. Why did you even put up text like that for 2 seconds? I get the beat of it. It's like blah, 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 switch, blah, 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 switch. You want to stay on rhythm, but no one can read that. I couldn't even pause it in time.
Not ask for consent. It uses copywritten images along with private medical records, violent.
Okay, like if anything, do this. Put the info here, the thing that you just put up that's now switched, and then put this here on top of it. So both are up on screen, and then put the next thing and the next. That's an edit that a lot of YouTubers do. That way I can pause and read as you keep putting up more stuff. It says, it's really cold. My teeth are chattering. It says Stability AI CEO Imad Mastask. I just screwed up that whole sentence. I can't with these words. Stability AI CEO Imad Mustake told TechCrunch the program training data was based on general web crawls and are designed to represent the collective imagery of humanity. So it says based on general web crawls. Let's look that up because that's a term that'll help me to learn what I was talking about just a second ago. All right, I'm going to Wikipedia and I'm going to look at this other thing too. It says a web crawler, sometimes called a spider or spider bot, and often shortened to crawler, is an internet bot that systematically browses the World Wide Web and that is typically operated by search engines for the purpose of web indexing. See, that's what I thought it was doing. Because I'm like, she already just said earlier.
Stable Diffusion scours the internet for millions and millions of photos.
So do you really think like a few people are just putting in hundreds of thousands of images, or do you think it's automatic? To do it any other way would be so counterproductive. It's just, you'd have to be brain dead. So it says crawlers consume consume resources on visited systems and often visit sites unprompted. See, it says unprompted. So, we can go back into all this other information some other day. You should just pause and read if you really want to know. The rest of that, I'm not going to read that. But the point is, that means that information was already on the internet. That means that somebody put those images up there, and that person is the person who's responsible for the problem. And the AI is just going and grabbing whatever it sees. So you can't really blame it for doing that. All you can do is blame them for not having a system to weed out that type of stuff. But this is a relatively new concept, so they just really haven't had time to deal with that. I mean, they haven't even had time to realize that that's a problem. It's a gray area. They'll never be able to improve if you treat every mistake as a reason to get rid of it. So for you to use this thing that someone's not prepared for as an argument for something completely separate is disingenuous, and that is immoral, as you wanted to say.
Images and non-consensual pornography.
Okay, the freaking, what did she
Consent.
put
It
up?
uses copywritten images along with private medical records, violent images, and
Okay, I looked up these keywords and have I been trained? Like, at least capitalize the beginning of each thing. But have I been trained? And there is an abundance of violence and okay. Again, it's like you look that up, but you're not looking. You get what I mean? Like, people look up just the stuff that supports their idea. They don't take time to try to understand the other person's perspective, to disagree with it effectively, or to look into the things that they don't get. They're just like, let me just do all this research on the stuff that I get. And I don't know that much about the other stuff, but I didn't care about it because I don't believe in it, because I just feel like I'm right. So I'm just going to go on and be right. And that's why I don't like going off of feeling when I decide whether something's right or wrong.
Consensual pornography. This is because AI has absolutely no moral code. Obviously, AI art is programmed, and so therefore it will scour any image on the internet and use it in its data sets.
You said it was a parasite. This right here is the definition you should have given at the beginning of your video. This is different from a parasite. You're trying to say it's leeching off of other people's work, but the description you just gave shows that it's more complicated than that. But you said it so quickly, no one's even going to have time to react to that. You already told them your version of what it is, so they probably didn't even retain this part. But this is the real definition, what she just said.
Obviously, AI art is programmed, and so therefore it will scour any image on the internet and use it in its data sets.
Does that sound like a parasite to you? It's going to use any image in its data sets. Okay, but it's not like just leeching off of one artist or something. It's not just copy pasting one artist. That would be more so of a parasite and take everything that it's worth. That's not the same as, and again, she says uses. That's not even what it's doing. It's not using these images. It's using it for something, but you didn't describe what. So you make it sound like it's using it in the way of a parasite, when it's not. It's using it in the way that we use images when we see them. So AI is going to look at all these images, and it gives it context for how to do poses and anatomy and perspective and style and color and lighting and all that. It's taking from
millions and millions of photos,
as she said, and then coming up with its own art the same way that we do, so that you can understand how inspiration works. Me looking at this video right now, I could probably get some sort of inspiration just from the aesthetic of her hair with the grays in the background, these colors 5 years from now in a drawing, and I won't even remember that I saw that and used something similar in a video one day, because somewhere in my subconscious I remember seeing those things and it gave me an idea. So AI is doing the same thing as that, but just on a larger scale, and we can trace it because it has a digital footprint in a sense, and we can see the program and where the images are coming from and stuff like that. That's not the same as being a leech or copying someone's stuff or stealing their work. Like she said, it's art theft.
AI art at the moment is just art theft.
If you're stealing art, then you're just taking someone's art for your own.
If you follow any artists online, myself included, you will have noticed that a lot of us are posting about how our images are being used without our consent.
And again, a lot of you were wrong. And please stop using consent all the time. Like, it's so frustrating. This is why people don't take conversations about Me Too seriously, because you guys want to just use consent with everything all the time. Use a different word. Like, just say, they didn't ask for my permission, because that's simply what you were trying to do. But they purposefully use the word consent because of what it's tied to. It makes things sound so serious. But when you use these really serious words all the time, you take the value out of that and it trivializes it. and that hurts actual victims of abuse. So just like how you're saying that you guys are on the receiving end of all this stuff, you just hurt a bunch of people who are going through actual real serious life experiences that are gonna follow them for the rest of their life. And if they change the word to something else, you're just gonna take that word too. Use it wisely.
To inform the...
Oh my god, let me pause. Okay, I paused in time. I mentioned specifically Lensa because Stability AI is open source. Lensa uses Stability to create its magic avatars and charges a subscription and fee for a number of images generated.
This pay-to-use app and program. You can check if any of your own images have been used for training Stability by going to the website haveibeentrained.com. You can just put in keywords or photos and see if they have been used. I've easily found my work.
I was trying to see if she was saying anything else about it, but no. She just says that it's open source and then moves past it. She doesn't even try to she acts like it's not that big of a deal. Like, that's a good thing because this is a tool that they're creating for people. But of course, she's never going to put in that context. Anything that supports that, she'll just say it and move on.
On Have I Been Trained? And so I know that my own artwork has informed Stability AI and Lensa, which is extremely upsetting because I've not given any consent for my work to be used in this capacity.
You're not supposed to give your consent because you already put your stuff on YouTube for people to see and on the internet for people to see. And so the same way how I don't have to ask for your permission to see your art and it inspire me for something, AI doesn't have to ask for your permission to look at your art and then get inspiration. This girl literally does tutorials. I know because I've seen her art when she was small and she would show people how to draw stuff. You're literally showing the world for free how to draw. And I'll post the thumbnails here. But AI can't learn too? Do you not understand what you're doing? If AI can't learn from you how to draw, and it's a machine, then that means that humans aren't allowed to learn from each other. Because if a machine can't do it, something that's not even alive or, has any sort of conscience, then why should humans be able to do it? If you were to actually win this argument, you're going to make it harder for artists to use sources. Artists already have a hard enough time creating certain art because certain companies won't let you draw their characters and stuff like that. So if the AI can't even have the most basic freedom of inspiration, it's just going to give us even less freedoms to draw. And that's what's actually dangerous, and that's why I'm making this video, because you're going to restrict the few freedoms that we have as artists. And it's because they're only thinking in the now. They got emotionally charged and not thinking in the future as to how bad this can get if they get their way. So all your viewers who watch your videos have to ask for your consent to watch your video. Everything you see is inspiration. So the second I see your art, do I have to close my eyes and say, oh my God, can I get your consent, please?
I have not been credited, nor have I been paid.
Why would you be credited out of hundreds of thousands? First of all, even hundreds of millions, even if they gave you credit, it would be buried in hundreds of millions of names. Nobody would care.
In apps work to be used in this capacity, I have not been credited, nor have I been paid. Apps like...
What would you get paid? Even if they did pay you, it would be like 0.001%. It's taking from, honestly, like she says hundreds of millions. I'm willing to bet it's so much more than that. Like, I don't want to say it for a fact because I don't have that information. But if I do, I'll put it up on the screen here. But they could easily be taking billions of sources and coming up with their images.
Lens are charging $50 a year. You can get a free trial for a week, but as people forget to pay subscriptions, you could just be instantly charged $50 a year. Plus you have to pay like what, $3.99?
That's like every subscription service. So she's tacking that on to them as if it's like this unique thing. Almost every subscription service does that, or at least a lot of them. So first of all, that has nothing to do with the AI argument. It's not AI's fault that the company does the subscription thing to trick you into keep paying for if you forget. Secondly, it's a thing that a lot of people do. So you don't use that to make this argument.
$9 or something like that for however many images you want to receive. There's two big problems with this. For one, you're paying a programmer essentially for free commissioned art. That program has been trained off of somebody like me I've been working on my skill set.
No, it hasn't been trained off of someone like you. Stop making it personal. It's trained off of hundreds of millions, if not billions of sources. Every single time you say it's trained off of people like me, you're misrepresenting the issue. You're creating a narrative. And you're trying to emotionally affect people out of all logic and reasoning.
For years, put in countless hours every day, put in physical labor, emotional energy.
Oh my God, listener, it's like I put in all this labor, I did all this work, and then they just took my art. She has like this whole idea in her head that's equivalent to some sort of dramatic movie or storyline or something, like vision in her head of what's happening that's not true. Where like she's the, underdog in the situation and the AI is the big behemoth that she has to overcome or something. This is everything she said so far. It's just that this AI, they make this program, they make you have to pay for it, and then you could forget about it. It's just taking your money, and the money that it's taking is going to people who just made a program that stole from people like me, people who work every day and do all this stuff, and that has nothing to do with anything.
Into my work for it to be stolen from me without any kind of credit or compensation, and then have somebody innocently pay a program $3, $9, $50 for hundreds of generated images, some of which are fucking whack. Kind of like a slap in the face. It's
what?
Not $9, $50 for hundreds of generated images, some of which are fucking whack.
So then what are you mad about? do you understand the contradiction? They're stealing our art to make shitty art, so then what are you afraid of? What are you mad about?
Like a slap in the face. It's not supporting small creators, it's theft from small creators.
How is it not supporting small creators when it's a tool? Artists can and will use this tool and do use this tool, just not people like her. There's a big section of the art community that doesn't, but there are definitely artists who use this tool to help them get inspiration for their drawings. They'll either plug in their own pictures to get more inspiration for their own style, or they plug in other pictures too, so that they can get some ideas for how to draw. And for the record, I haven't touched this program. I draw my pictures myself. I'll even show some here. But despite that, I can still separate myself and understand why this tool is useful and all of the good that it can provide, not only for artists, but everyone. So how is this not helping when this can help us expand our own point of view? I'm only limited to my life experience to be able to draw things, but if I can use a program to enhance my art, it helps to expand your creativity, like showing me, oh yeah, I could do this with my art. I could angle things this way more often. Oh, maybe I should turn my characters around because it's turning around a lot of like my drawings and showing like backs and stuff. I should try that. Or, oh, it's putting, these plants in there. But these artists don't see it as a tool that it is. They just see it as a threat. And I'll get into why later.
$3, $9, $50 for hundreds of generated images, some of which are fucking whack. Kind of like a slap in the face. It's not supporting small creators, it's theft from small creators. Paying programmers who have essentially just created an AI to steal from other artists.
That's her whole summary. I mean, she just said it there. Like, if at any point in this video you didn't believe that that's the narrative that she's painting, these programmers just made an AI that steals art. Because the idea that they get is people who can't draw made a machine that lets them draw our art. It's like, it's not your art, gets inspiration from your art. And yeah, why is it that people who don't know how to draw can't have the right to draw? That's what you're saying. You don't know how to draw, tough luck for you. It's only a skill for us, because the art world is so elitist and we all know it. And even at the very bottom, people like this who just sit at home and draw, they're not like at art galleries and stuff selling their pictures for like $1 million. Even though they're like, nope, we get to do this, but you can't because you don't know what to do. Haha.
Ability to fusion is currently valued at $550 million based on unpaid labor.
She's like, I wish I had $550 million. Why did they get $550 million? Because they're doing something much bigger than just drawing pictures. They're creating a tool that can help artists and people who don't draw. And help other people with like advertisement, if you want to make some sort of brand logo. Like, it can help with so many things.
Artists. Stability Diffusion is currently valued at $550 million based on unpaid labor. They have not paid for any of the images that they are using for this.
That's such an insult to programmers. So any programmers that are watching, you don't put in any labor. One of the most taxing things a person can do. I guarantee you that coders are working harder than you.
This is not original. They're not creating something new.
You hear that, programmers? You're not original. You're not creating anything new. You don't work for anything. You're just stealing artists' money.
Of the images that they are using for this. This is not original. They're not creating something new. An AI cannot think like a human being, cannot make rational judgments like a human being.
So then why are you treating it like it's a human being? Why don't you look at it from the perspective of, oh, this is the way that AI gets inspired. You just said yourself they're not humans. So stop using human rules to judge it. See, the thing that they're not saying to you, I say they, but it's her in this video, but it's a ton of artists who feel this way. It's not just her. Being an artist as a human being, you can claim inspiration to avoid having to be attacked for using other people's art. And artists don't like that in the first place. If your art looks like anyone else's art, people want to attack you. And even if you do try to say it's inspiration, sometimes that's not enough, sadly. If you see somebody making jewelry, a lot of artists hate the fact that people will take their jewelry, and there's a lot of artists that like the fact that you'll take their jewelry. They'll show you a tutorial, but for the ones who want to keep it to themselves, they hate when you can look at it and recreate it without a tutorial, without anything. They're like, damn, you took this thing that I made and they want to patent it and all this other stuff. But if I made it with my own hands, then you can't say that I'm stealing from you because I crafted this myself and it's not your own original idea because you got your ideas from inspiration from everyone. So I'm getting my ideas from you, and you could have gotten your ideas from another person. We just couldn't track the fact that you quote unquote stole from them. So that's the complexities of inspiration when it comes to human beings. So since there's already controversy around the whole idea of human beings having inspiration in the first place, the only thing that makes it a gray area is that you can't prove where someone got their art from. When it comes to AI, she's projecting that human immorality controversy into the AI because, like I said earlier, there's a digital footprint. We can see where they're getting their inspiration from.
An AI cannot think like a human being, cannot make rational judgments like a human being. None of it is original, based on snippets of other people's work and creating something new based on it. I also liken it to grabbing
I really hate that fucking argument so much. They literally say the word snippet because in their brain they're picturing what they think AI is doing is like grabbing 10 photos from people and literally cutting pieces out from each photo and making a collage. And by the way, that would be its own art. People make collages. Have you ever seen those pictures where it's like a million pictures that make a new picture? But that's not even what it's doing. Oh my God.
a bunch of copywritten images based on, let's say, a Vogue photographer's work, photo manipulating them together and saying that you've created something new and original.
And that's what's amazing. That's why it's a good thing. If AI can be allowed to do that, we don't have to worry anymore about using those people's copywritten work. The whole idea of copyrighting your art so that people can't sue you for making something that looks similar, even if you never even heard of them, which is a thing that people try to do. And then if you have heard of them and you've taken their art, now you have the freedom to get inspiration from wherever you want. Yes, it's not okay to take people's personal medical records. Yes, it's not okay to take anything illegal that's been uploaded and use that for art because you shouldn't be looking at that stuff in the first place. Okay, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying when it comes to art, now you can get inspiration from anywhere. If AI is allowed to do it, then humans should definitely be allowed to do it because we're more than just a tool.
Manipulating them together and saying that you've created something new and original, you have just stolen from somebody else. AI models using Stable Diffusion also employ something called overfitting, which is when an AI model creates an almost identical piece to the one that it's being trained. Stable Diffusion also employs something called
Employ is the wrong word. Input can lead to overfitting, whether desired or not.
Overfitting, which is when an AI model creates an almost...
It's like the only correction she's made. I don't care when people use the wrong word. We're human. It's whatever. But it's like, you should have been correcting much bigger things than that. It says the first one is overfitting. These extremely large generative models will inevitably overfit such a small set of images. It says such a small set of images. I'll get back to this in a second. No matter how varied it may be. What does that even mean? It says inevitably overfit no matter how varied it may be. So what if it's not really overfitting? I don't know. That's so vague. I want to know who defined this. What is it, like a Webster thing? Or is it someone who hates AI art defining it? Let me just Google it myself after I read it to make sure that this is the actual definition. It says this means that the model will learn to reproduce the subject with high fidelity, but mostly in the poses and context present in the training images. Okay, this is on IBM. It says, overfitting is a concept in data science which occurs when a statistical model fits exactly against its training data. When this happens, the algorithm unfortunately, keyword unfortunately, cannot perform accurately against unseen data, defeating its purpose. See, now that's a real definition. And then it says generalization of a model to new data is ultimately what allows us to use machine learning algorithms every day to make predictions and classify data. Machine learning is an important thing that I do want to talk about, but just not right now. So just try to understand the definition to the best of your abilities. But the point is, it literally says, unfortunately cannot perform accurately against unseen data, defeating its purpose. It goes without saying, it's a mistake. It's something that they're not trying to do. So one thing that artists keep complaining about, she hasn't said it yet, I don't know if she will, but it's a common thing. They say, well, there needs to be checks and balances and they need to be on top of this stuff. The fact that it can do this, you know, what are you doing about it? It's like, okay, well, that's an error that they try to correct because it's not supposed to be doing that. And you're not giving them credit for the fact that it's so much of an error that there's a definition for it. It's like, do you want them to try to get better at this or not? But the truth is they don't want them to use it at all, unless they use it in a specific way that these artists are happy with, and then by the time it's what they finally want it to be, it won't be AI art anymore. The whole point of all this is so that AI can learn how to draw on its own. So it's gonna learn the same way that we do, which is through any art that already exists. So actually what I'm gonna do is try to figure out where this definition came from. Let me do that. Okay, so I don't even know where she's got this definition from. I tried to find it, but I have no idea. This is not, like, what? It's not the definition.
Identical piece to the one that it's being trained on. This is problematic.
Oh, damn it.
There's something called overfitting, which is when an AI model creates an almost identical piece to the one that...
Okay, she puts it up for like 1 second. High learning rates and too many training steps will lead to overfitting. In other words, you see what I mean? You see how lengthy the first part of the definition was, the wrong part? And then this part is like the little whisper at the end of the commercial, like side effects maybe. It says high learning rates and too many training steps will lead to overfitting. In other words, the model can only generate images from your training data, no matter the prompt. Low learning rates and too few steps will lead to underfitting. This is when the model cannot generate the trained concept. She's not talking about underfitting, so adding that in there almost makes it look like, and remember, this is only up for 1 second, so it almost makes it look like she's giving it a fair chance to like add more of a definition, but that's a separate definition. So you only added like what is that? That's 1 sentence of what it actually is, and that's not even the whole thing. You didn't talk about how it's an error, how it's not supposed to happen. It makes me think of with like programmers where they code something and they just miss a comma somewhere or a parentheses, and so then they get this big error and they have to comb through the code to fix it. Like, it would be more close to that than this other definition. All right, let's see what else she says.
Called overfitting, which is when an AI model creates an almost identical piece to the one that it's being trained on. This is problematic in many senses. I think the US government has recently passed some laws that say that AI created images cannot have copyright on them. You can take somebody's photograph or painting that has copyright on it, throw it into Lensa to change it just barely, and then overfit it and create something that is completely new, sell it for your own. Lensa does not have copyright on them. You can take somebody's
photograph. Oh my god, there's so many things wrong with what she did. This video is gonna be 1,000 years long. Oh my god, I don't know. I'm not even gonna read this fucking image because she said so many awful things. It's just gonna waste my time. This is basically the law. You can pause and read yourself if you want. Who cares? But she basically just said, so they made a law that doesn't let people use copyright stuff, and then AI found a way around it with overfitting. So I'm going to clarify this because I know people are going to take me out of context for this next part that I'm going to say. I just want to say for the record that I think that it's wrong if somebody uses someone else's artwork for their album cover to a degree. There's so much that I want to say about this topic, but I am saving some of it for my other video because this video will be like 4 hours long if I cover everything here. But the degree that I'm talking about is that there is a very thin line between what this person's accusing them of doing and an alternative perspective. And I'm going to give some examples of that other perspective right now so that people can understand why in some cases that kind of artwork is okay. But just know that the point is it's more complicated than what she's talking about. And so here they're just like, this is this, and then this is, you know, it when it's overfitted. But they are two different images. And this is what people are afraid of. It says, someone showed me the album cover of this song. I have to say I didn't draw it. It's basically copying my work. I wish the musician can change the cover. There are people who can look at something and draw it exactly. So are those people stealing from you if they look at this and instead of drawing it exactly, they draw something similar? What if they thought this looked cool, but they wanted it to look more like this? It seems scary because you feel like somebody's taking your work, and tracing is a big thing that artists hate. Even though kids trace drawings to learn how to draw, but artists really hate tracing. And so they feel like this is tracing, but it's not. It is a different image. And people have been doing this before AI was ever a thing.
Copyright on it, throw it into Lensa to change it just barely, and then overfit it and create something that is completely new, sell it for your own, and get
Lensa TOS states you cannot commercially sell images created with the app, but also state that copyright claims are going to come through whoever you're infringing, not Lensa itself. Okay, well, I don't really care about their claims. The point is, she's making it sound like people are just using the app to overfit, and that's not what the majority of people are doing. Just because you can find some examples of it doesn't mean that that's the point of the tool. And again, humans can do the same thing. So all you people out there, all you artists who draw celebrities and it looks just like them, you're not allowed, because that's overfitting, but human style. You know, if you see an anime character that you like and you learn how to draw just like it, like if you want to draw some Naruto character or something, or a Pikachu, well, guess what? You're overfitting because it looks too much like the original drawing.
It's not original, you know, they're not creating something new.
It's not original, you know, they're not creating something new.
That's the same thing that she can say to all of you. Do you see what I mean when I say if you make it so that AI can't do this, then that means the humans can't either. And that will be an argument in court one day. That someone else is going to be like, this looks like my art and AI can't do it, so this person owes me $10,000.
Away with it, essentially. I think like the smoking gun in this whole argument is that you can see signatures from artists appear.
Understand, you could take from like 100 images and put someone's signature in there. I'm sure that there's AI where they have multiple signatures in the drawing. That doesn't mean that it's actually overfitting. If this is, you know, a case of overfitting, because it could be, but if it is, show me the original drawing first. Don't just say there's a signature there, so that means that it's like, if I saw Bob Ross's signature on, you know, this drawing over here, I know that it's obviously not Bob Ross, but his signature got in there somehow. What are you talking about? I'm cropping these for privacy reasons. See, here they go. It's like virtue signaling. I'm giving them their privacy. I'm cropping it for privacy reasons. It's not the original artist's art. It's the AI creation. So you're giving the AI privacy? Like, what's your point? And so apparently artists who upload their images to the internet don't want people to see them, I guess. Like, the whole thing makes no sense whatsoever. There's just so many flaws in the logic here. But they don't want to contradict themselves. They're like, if I just show the picture in its totality, then doesn't that mean I'm doing what AI is doing? I didn't ask the artist for their consent to show the AI's version of it, which it isn't its version of it, but that's what they think.
These AI generated images, it's not like the program has it programmed in it to create fake signatures so it looks more authentic.
It honestly could do. Whether or not it's a ghost remnant, as she says, of an artist's signature, it is capable of recreating signatures. Just signatures alone, if you gave an AI signatures, it will come up with 1 million signatures for itself, you know, or at least have 1 million different ones that it could make and then give you a few, depending on how they program this thing. So it can make signatures, and it could copy a person's signature if it wanted to. Now, I don't know how far along the program is, but it's definitely capable of it. So that's just wrong.
It's not like the program has it programmed in it to create fake signatures so it looks more authentic. These are like the little ghost remnants of signatures from artists that it's taken from.
I swear, everything she says is through the lens of it being a thief. It wouldn't be making fake signatures to seem more authentic because it's not a human and it's not stealing from anyone. It would just be signing a signature for its own piece of art that it created itself.
It's not like the program has it programmed in it to create fake signatures so it looks more authentic. These are like the little ghost remnants of signatures from artists that it's taken from.
I'm going to try to pronounce this name as best as I can. An illustrator who goes by Lauren Ipsum on Twitter pointed out this phenomenon in what is now a viral tweet. These are all Lensa portraits where the mangled remains of an artist's signature is still visible. Ipsum wrote, with attached pictures, that's the remains of the signature of one of the multiple artists it stole from. The signatures the AI created were all illegible, and to Prisma Labs, the parent company of Lensa AI, do not constitute proof of theft. The notion of remains of artist signatures is based on the flawed idea that neural networks might combine existing images.
These are like the little ghost remnants of signatures from artists that it's taken from.
The actual process is different, wrote Audrey Uzoltsev, I got that all wrong, Prisma Labs CEO in an email to Art News. And so I'm just going to say this here for everyone who doesn't get my point, is that these people are extremely uninformed. They are scared because they view this as a threat. And I'm going to get into this topic a lot more in another video that isn't reacting to her. I'm going to be doing a lot of art videos, but they're scared. And because they're so scared, they don't even want to really look into the information because it's just going to stress them out more. That's something that people do a lot. If something is too intense, they feel like, oh, well, if I avoid it, then everything will be better. It's not worth my time because I already know it's bad, but you don't actually know until you look into it. And that's why you have to face things that stress you out, because when you don't, you have no tolerance for it. You don't have any resistance built up and you can't handle anything and you react like this.
Is the fact that Stability has a music generating AI as well, and it does not employ the same model. They've essentially said that they know that using copywritten music would be problematic. They are not going to do that, so they only...
That's a problem. YouTube is having so many issues with copyright these days. I mean, PewDiePie's own song got a copyright strike on his channel because someone else claimed it when it's his music that he made all by himself. Copywriting music is such an awful thing. And we see on TikTok how people are just able to use music all the time. This is what I'm talking about. Because AI isn't allowed to use music, humans aren't allowed to use copyrighted music. But if we could all use copyrighted music, it would expand our creativity so that we can make more art. You know, we can make more emotional pieces and can make more sketches and put certain music in the background that enhances the video. It can help us with remixes. People get copyright strikes for just making a remix, which is their own thing. It won't even sound anything like the original, but because the copyright bot caught it, you can't put it up anymore, you know? So you just prove him a point.
Use copyright-free music and royalty-free music. I cannot help but think that this is because musicians, larger musicians at any rate, have producers, agents, legal teams behind them that can help them in these sort of lawsuits, while smaller artists, like myself, don't have legal representation.
Yeah, it's because they already made laws for it in the first place, and it's because it makes a lot of money. That's specifically it. It's like you're partially right, but no. The art world has always been something that's been a lot more free because anyone can pick up and draw. Musicians have, you know, string quartets and big symphonies in the background of their music and a whole team that helps them produce these songs. So it's like, that's not the same. If it took you a whole team to draw your pictures, there'd probably be a bunch of laws for artists as well. But because anyone can pick up a pencil and paper and just draw on a whim, that's why, luckily, throughout history, art has been one of the more freeing forms of expression. But even that has its setbacks, which I've already talked about, how you can't draw a certain character. You can't sell a chibi version of a character at certain places if it's a plush toy or sticker, because that counts as you selling someone else's work, their show or their movie or whatever, which is a problem.
I am a literal normal ass human being. I don't have a lawyer, so I cannot in any
And I'm so happy you don't.
way defend my copyright unless I want to go broke. I live in America. The system is not set up to help a freelancer.
What legal rights do freelancers have in America? Considers you a small business? Okay, whatever.
Protect their own copyright, protect their living. It's something that's bleak.
Someone tell me I'm wrong and give me a ray of hope. Do you hear, again, the narrative is in the question. Tell me I'm wrong and give me a ray of hope. It's like, what's your version of a ray of hope? Because the real hope here that you're missing, the glaring big sun beaming down upon you trying to show you the way, is that AI can free us from all these copyright restrictions as time goes by. I hope that it expands to the point where AI will eventually be able to use copywritten music. I really hope that it can do that, because if AI is allowed to just use artists' work, you know, copywritten or not, then it can expand actually to music and to media. And that would be so great for the creative world. And then YouTube would stop having all these awful copyright laws. See, now that's the big picture. And whenever you want to talk about a big picture, then that's when people say, oh, that'll never happen. Yeah, it won't ever happen because of people like you. Like, stop.
Abysmal. There's nothing really in place for me legally, like any kind of protection. I think it's fair to say that artists in general lack representation the way that musicians do, and so therefore stability has
I also hate that word. Lacks representation. It's like, why are you using, again, just because of the fact she said consent earlier, I feel like she's using representation in the same way.
I think that's bleak, abysmal. There's nothing really in place for me legally, like any kind of protection. I think it's fair to say that artists in general lack representation the way that musicians do, and so therefore stability has used...
That would just make art even more elitist than it already is. Like, the music world is so elitist, and it'll never be your work. They're gonna pick some people who know how to rub shoulders with the right people and born into money or have some sort of privileges or born with luck, and then those people get to paint their shitty paintings. It's never gonna be you. You don't even understand that. Oh man.
Two separate models for artists versus musicians.
Yeah, and that's a problem, so let's bring the musicians down a peg. Like, let's do that. Not bring the artists up with them and get another stupid club that excludes a bunch of people for no reason.
Has used two separate models for artists versus musicians. Something that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, but I think is extremely important, probably one of the craziest parts of all of this, is the fine print. The terms of service of a company like Lensa. I'm going to talk about them specifically because I've pulled this quote from their terms of service. If you're a non-artist, you might be just sitting there and thinking, okay, this is affecting artists, this is not affecting me. What if I just put in my own photo and I come out with an artwork? This is in no way something that is affecting me negatively. It's just fun.
She's
you know, like I understand that way of thinking. I kind of think it's a selfish way to think, but I understand it.
What?
You know, self-preservation. That way of thinking. I kind of think it's a selfish way to think, but I understand it.
No context. She's just like, well, what if I just use my own pictures and put it into the program? Like, I'm not hurting anyone, right? That's selfish. That's a selfish way of thinking, she said. It'd be different if your actions were selfish and you didn't realize it, right? But she just said that if you purposefully ask her a question where you're trying to be considerate to all the bullshit she just told you, like all the big poo-pooing that she just did, you're like, okay, well, what if I just do this? No, you're still selfish.
You know, self-preservation, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to worry about everybody else's problems. It's just fun for you.
So this is the narrative she just made. The truth is, the people she's talking about are actually like, okay, so what if I just use this stuff for me? But she said, no. If you want to just use it for you, that means you don't care about artists.
I kind of think it's a selfish way to think, but I understand it. You know, self-preservation, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to worry about everybody else's problems. It's just fun for you.
Why would you tie those two arguments together? If somebody just wants to put up their pictures, that doesn't mean that they are just like, this isn't affecting me. It's a straw man. Straw manning her whole way through this thing.
It's just fun for you. You also might be in danger of a lawsuit. Lensa's terms of service say both your original content and your edited or AI generated content belong to you and we claim no ownership over such content. If you take a photo that is professionally taken of you for your wedding, your engagement, family photos that a photographer has copyright over and you put them into Lensa, come out with essentially an overfitted image and post it online, that photographer could potentially sue you, not Lensa.
There's a bunch of ifs, ands, or buts here. Okay. First of all. Secondly, she said if it's overfitted, then that means just avoid overfitting. And who the fuck, think about how stupid that sounds. Who the fuck would put in photos professionally taken? First of all, who would even put professionally taken photos into an AI thing? Most likely you're going to be taking the pictures yourself. And how many people take professional photos in the first place, you know, like often? Like, that's such a rare circumstance. But on top of that, why would you then put it in the AI to get images that are so similar, as the definition said, it defeats the purpose of using the program. She's like, you could get sued if you put your own photos in there to come out with the same photos basically and then upload those. And if the photographer's taken enough pictures of you, they probably won't even notice. But could you imagine like a tweet where someone's like, look at my new AI art, and it's the same fucking photo? People be like, didn't you just upload that last week? I don't even understand that. But she made it sound all spooky, scary. She's like, you could potentially be sued.
Because they have completely washed their hands of any kind of involvement into this, you could potentially be faced with a lawsuit. Not the company that is a multi-million-dollar company that is profiting off of artists with unpaid labor, but you, a regular ass person who just wanted to have some fun with this program. The next thing I want to talk about is...
So she tries to rope you in as a victim too. She's like, you see, they're making you victims. We're all victims here. Join the club. Get mad so we can fight against their oppression. That's the next word I'm waiting for her to use.
Probably one of the graver ones.
I don't think that she will. I don't think she'll have the balls to say that one, but I mean, if she could get away with it, she probably would.
$1 million company that is profiting off of artists with unpaid labor, but you, a regular ass person who just wanted to have some fun with this program. The next thing I want to talk about is probably one of the graver ones. I touched on it when I mentioned the private medical records and the non-consensual pornography. This is sort of similar to this. Stability AI has just released a second version in like late November, I believe, that had an update where you cannot directly copy another specific artist's work and you cannot create NSFW content. It's great that they've released this update. The problem with this is that it's happened before and will likely happen again because there's no regulation.
I swear, you can't win with this girl. It's great that they did that, but it's happened before and it'll probably happen again. They're trying to fix it. Like I said earlier, I said how she wouldn't give them credit for even working on the shit. That was me speculating. People always want to accuse me of speculating. It's obvious. You can just hear it in what she's saying if you read between the lines, and then she just flat out said it here. So that's why I speculate. Because if she hadn't have said it here, people will still be dumb enough to be like, you don't know if she believes that. Well, here's the proof, you dummy. Like,
the problem with this is that it's happened before and will likely happen again.
Okay, so that's like saying doctors shouldn't have medical records of you because people somehow get a hold of them and put them up online. Absolutism. Because some bad can happen, the whole thing is bad.
copy another specific artist's work and you cannot create NSFW content. It's great that they've released this update. The problem with this is that it's happened before and will likely happen again because there's no regulation against creating essentially pornography with somebody's likeness. Can you imagine if somebody used your own face to create pornographic images that they post commercially for somebody to pay for?
Could you imagine if they did this thing that they already said is wrong? Yeah, I'd be mad at the people who created that work, not the programmers that made the tool. That's a human problem, not an AI problem. You act like people can't do that right now without AI.
This is like opening a completely new can of worms on sexual harassment, consent, indecency.
I told you. Here she goes. Sexual harassment, consent, blah, blah, blah. None of that has anything to do with if AI should be able to make art. Porn is not the same kind of art that we are discussing in this video. You are roping all this stuff in together, but that's how people make their arguments. They always got to tie in these super serious things.
It's happened before. You know, now that there's an update that you can't do this doesn't mean
you
that
can't do it. I'm just going to put quotes. You can't. That's how the law works. You're not supposed to walk down the street and punch someone in the face. If you put up quotes like, yeah, you can't hit anyone in public. No, you can't. Now, people still do it, and sometimes they get away with it, but yeah, just say you can't.
Harassment, consent, indecency. It's happened before. You know, now that there's an update that you can't do this doesn't mean that there's any kind of legal repercussions for somebody doing this. This is talking about your privacy and sexual consent as well. It's a big deal. Again, I understand.
Now she's saying your sexual consent. That's what consent was supposed to be tied towards in the first place. You shouldn't even have to differentiate by putting sexual in front. I'm sick of people using consent with everything. Just stop it. You are hurting victims.
And being like, listen, this is taking this topic too seriously. It's just fun. I'm just making a profile picture for my Instagram. No big deal. There are just so many ethical problems with AI art at the moment that I just cannot endorse it.
Who are you? I don't need your endorsement. It's just there's so many problems with. There's problems with humans. People are uploading shit that they're not supposed to every day before AI art was ever a thing. Does that mean we need to take the internet away because people use it for nefarious purposes? Like, do you hear yourself right now?
It's dangerous for users. There's no...
The internet is dangerous for users, but we still all have it. Like, oh my God.
At the moment, that I just cannot endorse it. It's dangerous for artists. It's dangerous for users. There's no legal ramifications for misuse of the systems and the models.
They literally made a rule. Like, that's the legality that they're working on right now. What do you mean there is no... Oh my God, you just get to say whatever you want. You just get to lie because that's what you're doing right now. You're lying. You just showed it to us.
Now that I've talked about what I think is really wrong with AI, I'm going to talk about some of the rebuttals I've seen online.
All right, I'm going to pause this. I might make a part 2 at this point, if not earlier, because this video is only 15 minutes, but I've been talking for over an hour. Here's some comments I want to show from my last video. I'm also going to throw in some of the live chats because you guys are just so supportive and I want you to know that I appreciate that. If you have any opinions or comments on this whole AI thing, let me know and maybe I'll show your comment in the next video. Thanks for watching and I'll see you all next time.